Okay, let's turn to actually getting into the prison. Your visit in the prison. Did you have any difficulty finding it, getting in, finding him, all that?
It was a bit of a miracle, really, because we'd heard that our friend was in a prison in Denmark, and it just so happened that we were in Sweden. As I looked at the map, I realised that they were really very close. I landed in Denmark and got a train out across to go to Sweden to the conference. And so over the course of the conference, I started asking our friends in the community, the Iranian community in Lyon, do we know where he is? Do we know the name of the prison? I had one friend in Denmark who I had never met physically, but had been somebody who'd phoned us up and said, we've got an Iranian friend coming from Denmark to Lyon. In a sense, it was in the opposite direction. They had landed in France and were being sent back to France for their papers to be treated. And this friend, this lady, had met this young man in Denmark, found out his situation, found out he was going to Lyon, contacted us. And so I contacted this lady and said, hi, this is the return journey. There's somebody who we have found to be in Denmark, and we want to find out more. I don't know where he is, but this is his name. Can you tell me anything? And she got back to me and said, you won't believe this, but this is the young man. He's at this prison, and the pastor from our church has been in contact with him. So initially it was really exciting because we were able to at least make contact with this guy. We knew where he was. And then we were able to work out where the prison was and take it from there.
So when you arrived at the prison, did you have any difficulty getting in? The authorities didn't ask any questions about why you wanted to visit him or anything like that?
It was quite hard because because obviously there were protocols, and what we realised, well, it wasn't really a very open prison. We thought it might just been a sort of a soft prison where refugees are kind of housed and they come and go. That does exist, but this guy was in a much more secure establishment, and so it took days of emailing across to the local pastor who was visiting to say that this guy's okay, he's come from a church that we know, blah blah blah. So getting over the paperwork hurdle was tricky, but once we were in, it was fine, and the guys were very welcoming.
And so, how did you find Jay when he was when you met him in prison? What was his state of mind, his attitude with regard to being a refugee from Iran in a Danish prison because he was Christian?
Yeah. So first of all, it was a surprise because he didn't even know I was coming. So he was amazingly shocked to see this guy rock up from Lyon to be here with him in his prison cell. And I mean, he was saying, this is the welcome room where I get to speak to you, but out the back it's much less comfortable and much less warm. He was obviously frightened about being sent back to Iran. That was his major concern. He was very fearful about that. There's often, for many people, but particularly with this guy, a sense of, I just don't even know what's happening. I don't know when I'm going to get seen for my paperwork, how long I'm going to be in this place. And he felt upset because he was like, I'm in a prison. I've not done anything wrong. I'm just a normal guy, but I'm in a prison. I've not done any crime. And so there was that sense of injustice too. But he was also very faithful and very loyal to the Lord too.
You arrive at this prison in Denmark. Was there something specific that you wanted to do?
There was. So when we left, the Sunday before we left for the conference, I'd said to the church, there might be a chance that I get to see this guy in prison. Is there anything that you want to share with him? And the church was brilliant. We filled in this big card. Some people asked what some of the needs were for prisoners in these particular prisons, and we had a quick collection, and we were able to put together things like socks. We found out they needed socks and warm clothes. We put together a sort of an emergency bag of things we were able to take. But most importantly was this massive card that everybody filled in. And there were loads of people who sent their love, and they sent their prayers, they sent words of scripture. And so when I went into the prison, one of my most urgent things was to say, here, you are known, you're loved, your church loves you, you're not forgotten. Because that was one of the things he was most concerned about, the fact that he might just completely disappear. So when I got in there and I was able to say to him, I represent your church family in Lyon, but much more beyond that. And we know you're here. We're praying for you. We love you. I was able to give the guy a handshake and put my arm around him and encourage him, and just the fact to say you're not forgotten.
And how did he react to that?
He was blown out. He was blown away. He was blown over by it. It was just the sense that we'd come all that way to be with him, and the fact that he was known, particularly somebody who's been almost anonymous around all the different paperwork trails that he has been on. But for his brothers and sisters to say, no, you're not forgotten, you're known to us and you're precious to us, and to be able to convey that was just amazing. You could see that just made his day.
And what happened when you left? Had anything advanced at that point, or was he still basically in a situation where he was essentially being held until they could find a way to ship him back?
Yeah. So it felt like he was being encouraged all the time to in a sense, take the gift package which was being offered to him, which was essentially a ticket back to Iran. That it felt like, and this may or may not be fair, but it felt like the authorities were saying, we don't really know how long you're going to be here, this is indefinite, the circumstances which you're going to leave on are going to be complicated. It was as if they were painting quite a negative picture about the future in Europe, but they were able to say, look, if you go back to Iran, we'll give you a ticket and we'll give you some money too. And it was almost like there was this temptation for him to bite for the offer they were selling him. But yeah, it was just that sense of unknown for him as he sat in his cell.
Okay, and have things changed since then?
So the last we heard was that he'd been released from his confinement in his prison cell, and he'd been released back into Danish society, which was great. And then since then, we've kind of lost contact.